The horizon of American naval doctrine shifted fundamentally on December 22, 2025, when President Donald Trump stood at Mar-a-Lago to announce a project that many naval historians believed was buried in the past. Flanked by Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and Secretary of the Navy John Phelan, the president unveiled a vision for the Trump-class battleship, a vessel designed to serve as the crown jewel of what he termed the Golden Fleet. For decades, the United States Navy has focused on stealth, carrier-based aviation, and distributed lethality through smaller destroyers. But this announcement signaled a return to the era of the dreadnought. The president described these ships as the most powerful machines ever built by man, claiming they would be 100 times more formidable than any predecessor. The lead ship, the USS Defiant, is intended to be the first of 25 massive surface combatants designed to project absolute American power across the world's oceans. This move is not merely about adding hulls to the water. It is a psychological and strategic pivot toward visible, undeniable dominance. By reviving the battleship, the administration seeks to blend the nostalgic prestige of the 20th century with the lethal technologies of the 21st. While the battleships of World War II were defined by their thick steel plating and massive 16-inch guns, the Trump class, designated as BBG-1, represents a technological leap into a new era of warfare. These vessels are projected to displace between 30,000 and 40,000 tons, making them significantly larger than the current Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, but more agile than the aging Iowa-class monsters. The design incorporates a hull that balances traditional aesthetics with modern radar-evading profiles, creating a silhouette that the president personally insisted must be the most beautiful in the world. Beneath the surface, the ships will be powered by advanced integrated electric propulsion systems capable of generating the immense wattage required for next-generation energy weapons. The armament is staggering, featuring 128 vertical launch system cells capable of firing a variety of defensive and offensive missiles. Furthermore, the Trump class will be the first surface ships specifically designed to carry and deploy nuclear-armed sea-launched cruise missiles, reinstating a tactical nuclear capability that had been retired at the end of the Cold War. This combination of size, speed, and nuclear lethality marks a departure from traditional naval architecture, prioritizing raw firepower and survivability over the subtle stealth of recent years. The announcement of the Golden Fleet is framed within the broader America First ideology, emphasizing that the United States must not only be the strongest nation, but also appear the most formidable. President Trump's vision for the Navy moves away from the DDG-X program, which focused on incremental upgrades to destroyer technology, in favor of a bold, high-visibility flagship program. The Golden Fleet is intended to act as a deterrent to any global challenger, with the president stating that these ships are a counter to every potential adversary on the planet. By focusing on a smaller number of extremely high-impact vessels, the administration argues that the Navy can achieve more through presence and intimidation than through a larger fleet of less capable ships. This philosophy assumes that a battleship, with its massive presence and visible weaponry, send a much stronger diplomatic message than a submarine hidden beneath the waves or a carrier deck miles away. The Golden Fleet is as much a tool of public relations and national pride as it is a tool of war. It represents a belief that American exceptionalism should be reflected in its hardware, creating a Navy that is both a functional shield and a symbolic monument to the country's industrial and military might. A central pillar of the Trump-class battleship program is its role as an economic engine for the American heartland. The president emphasized that the construction of a USS Defiant and its sister ships will involve a supply chain stretching across all 50 states. By labeling this a national priority, the administration aims to revitalize the domestic shipbuilding industry, which has faced significant challenges in recent years due to labor shortages and infrastructure decay. Billions of dollars are being earmarked for shipyards in Maine, Mississippi, and Virginia, but the ripple effects are intended to reach inland manufacturers of steel, electronics, and advanced composites. The White House argues that by investing $15 billion per ship, the government is effectively subsidizing the rebirth of American heavy industry. This Buy American mandate is designed to ensure that the Golden Fleet is built entirely by American hands with American materials, reducing reliance on globalized supply chains that have proven vulnerable. Critics argue the costs are astronomical, but the administration views the expense as a necessary investment in national security and economic sovereignty. The goal is to turn the naval buildup into a modern industrial revolution, proving that the United States still possesses the manufacturing capacity to produce the world's most complex machines. The most controversial aspect of the Trump-class battleship is its role in the American nuclear triad. By equipping the USS Defiant with nuclear-armed sea-launched cruise missiles, the administration is reintroducing a layer of regional nuclear deterrence that has been absent for decades. This decision reflects a shift in strategic thinking, suggesting that the United States needs more flexible nuclear options to counter the growing arsenals of near-peer competitors. These missiles allow the Navy to project nuclear force without relying on the massive, slow-moving aircraft carriers or the hidden, strategic-only Ohio-class submarines. A battleship equipped with tactical nuclear weapons becomes a mobile, visible nuclear deterrent that can be stationed in contested waters to signal American resolve. Proponents argue that this transparency reduces the risk of miscalculation by clearly showing an adversary the consequences of aggression. However, arms control advocates worry that mixing conventional and nuclear weapons on the same platform increases the risk of escalation during conflict. Regardless of the debate, the inclusion of nuclear capabilities ensures that the Trump class is not just a heavy cruiser, but a strategic asset capable of influencing global politics at the highest level. The president has made it clear that peace through strength requires the world to know that America's most powerful ships are fully armed. Beyond its nuclear capacity, the Trump class is designed to be a testbed for the most advanced conventional weaponry ever conceived. The ships will be outfitted with high-energy lasers and electromagnetic railguns, technologies that have long been in development but lacked a platform with sufficient power generation to be viable. These directed energy weapons are intended to provide a near-limitless magazine for shooting down incoming drone swarms and anti-ship missiles, addressing one of the greatest vulnerabilities of modern surface ships. Additionally, the battleships will carry the conventional prompt strike hypersonic missiles, allowing them to hit targets anywhere on Earth within minutes of a launch command. This combination of defensive lasers and offensive hypersonic projectiles creates a vessel that can both dish out and withstand incredible amounts of punishment. The president's plan also includes large-caliber guns, modernized for the 21st century with guided, long-range munitions that can strike inland targets with precision. This big gun approach is a nod to the classic battleship era, but with a level of accuracy that sailors of the past could only imagine. By integrating these disparate technologies into a single, massive hull, the Navy hopes to create a ship that can dominate every domain of the modern battlefield, from the sea surface to the edge of space. Despite the enthusiasm from the White House, the revival of the battleship faces significant skepticism from naval analysts and military strategists. The primary concern is the survivability of a large, high-value target in an era defined by the 2/AD, or anti-access and area denial bubbles. Modern anti-ship ballistic missiles, such as those developed by China, are specifically designed to sink large surface vessels from hundreds of miles away. Critics argue that spending $15 billion on a single battleship is a risky gamble when a swarm of inexpensive, one-way attack drones or a single well-placed torpedo could potentially neutralize the asset. The history of the 20th century showed that even the mightiest battleships, like the Yamato or the Bismarck, were vulnerable to air power and submarine attacks. Skeptics suggest that the Navy would be better served by investing in a larger number of smaller, unmanned vessels and submarines that are harder to track and destroy. There is also the question of the oyster shell effect, where the loss of one Trump-class ship would be a catastrophic blow to both national morale and fleet capacity. Balancing the desire for a prestigious flagship with the cold realities of modern missile warfare is the greatest hurdle the Golden Fleet must overcome to prove its military worth. The implementation of this ambitious naval plan falls on the shoulders of Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and Secretary of the Navy John Phelan. Both leaders have been vocal supporters of the president's vision, arguing that the traditional Pentagon bureaucracy has been too slow to adapt to a changing world. Hegseth, a combat veteran, has emphasized the need for lethality over bureaucracy, suggesting that the Trump-class battleship represents a break from the woke and inefficient procurement processes of the past. He views the Golden Fleet as a way to restore the warrior culture of the Navy, focusing on ships that are built for high-intensity combat. Secretary Phelan, meanwhile, is tasked with the monumental challenge of reforming the nation's shipyards to meet the aggressive production schedule. The administration wants construction to begin in the early 2030s, a timeline that many experts believe is overly optimistic given the current state of American infrastructure. Together, Hegseth and Phelan are working to bypass traditional acquisition hurdles, using executive authority to streamline the design and bidding processes. Their success will depend on their ability to manage a massive budget, while ensuring that the technological promises of the USS Defiant can actually be delivered by an industry that has not built a battleship in over 80 years. The announcement of a USS Defiant has sent shockwaves through the international community, particularly in the Indo-Pacific region. Adversaries and allies alike are closely watching how this change in American naval posture will affect the balance of power. For China, the prospect of an American fleet of nuclear-armed battleships is a direct challenge to their maritime expansion and their own naval modernization efforts. Some analysts believe this could spark a new naval arms race, similar to the one that preceded World War I, as other nations scramble to build their own capital ships to keep pace. Allies, on the other hand, have expressed a mixture of relief and concern. While a stronger American naval presence provides a security umbrella for nations like Japan and Australia, the aggressive and unilateral nature of the Golden Fleet project could complicate regional diplomacy. The president has stated that the fleet is a counter to everybody, a phrase that suggests a more isolationist or unpredictable foreign policy where the United States relies on raw power rather than traditional alliances. As the design for the Trump class moves from the drawing board to the shipyard, the geopolitical map of the world's oceans is being redrawn, with the battleship once again at the center of global strategic calculations. As we look toward the 2030s, the legacy of the Trump-class battleship and the Golden Fleet remains an unwritten chapter in American history. If successful, the program could represent the greatest naval comeback in history, proving that the battleship was not an obsolete relic, but a concept that simply awaited the right technology to flourish. It would stand as a monument to a period of American resurgence, symbolizing a nation that dared to build big and project its values across the globe without apology. However, if the project succumbs to cost overruns, technical failures, or shifting political winds, it may be remembered as a grand but impractical ambition. The USS Defiant is more than just a ship. It is a test of American will, industrial capacity, and strategic imagination. It challenges the prevailing wisdom of modern warfare and asks whether a single, massive, and beautiful machine can still change the course of history. President Trump's announcement has set the stage for a decade of intense debate and unprecedented construction. Whether these titans of the sea will bring about a new era of peace through strength or lead to a new type of maritime confrontation is a question that only time will answer. For now, the vision of the Golden Fleet stands as a bold defiance of the status quo.